Hey guys, my name's Shannon. This is an introduction to my acrylic painting workshop titled Pandora's Box. This workshop is in association with my current show at Tweed Regional Gallery titled Life, Death, Innocence and Guilt. To start off, I'm just going to show you this toned canvas that I've done. I've used a product called Dulux Weather Shield to tone the canvas. I've picked this lovely burnt orange colour because I'm going to be using an autumn palette through the process of the workshop. And this gives me a nice base colour to work from. The next product I want to show you is it's a commercial paint product called Floetrol, and this is a retarder medium, so this is added to acrylic paint to extend the life of the paint to allow you more time to blend. So I recommend having a little play with that one. Again, that's a commercial paint product, so that can be bought from Dulux, Bunnings, Inspirations, places like that. Next I just want to show you a nice quality masking tape. Because we're using acrylic paint, it's quite robust, so there'll be at certain stages of the painting I'll be showing you can mask onto the canvas, and that'll allow you to mask up some edges when you do some blending and things like that. So I recommend a nice quality one. The cheaper ones have a tendency to maybe leave a little bit of residue on the canvas, which you don't want. And these ones are sold as non-bleeding edges, so the cheaper ones, they can have paint bleed under the edge, and it sort of goes against what you're trying to do, which is create a nice sharp edge with some tape. Next is brushes. Because initially I'm going to be using a lot of paint and trying to move it around quickly, I'm going to be using quite large brushes. So these larger commercial brushes you get again from the commercial paint supplier, but your art supply shop does have quite large wide brushes, and these short handled ones are quite nice to use and quite easy to move quite a lot of paint around quickly. As we get through the painting, the brush size reduces down, and eventually we get down to some finer detailed brushes, obviously for the detail at the later stage of the painting. So the first step when I'm doing the background is going to be introducing, this is what I refer to as a mid-tone. So what I'm going to be doing is adding as simple as adding some white to the base colour and some black to the base colour. And then when I start, basically the initial blends will be my start of my tonal variation through the background. At a certain point I will leave those commercial paint products and introduce some fine art paint to it. These are nice strength of colour, and I use a Talia at the moment. And what it does is it allows you to keep a high strength of colour through the background. These commercial paint products, when they dry back a little bit muted. So by using these and introducing these, you know that you can keep that strength of colour into your background. And just quickly, a water bottle. So very simple. I use this for a couple of different things. I spray the back of the canvas, so just a quick mist on the back of the canvas. That'll tighten your canvas up, so that allows you to have a stiffer surface to be working on, to be moving paint around. So, and initially at this first stage where I'm not adding detail, I'm just simply blending some colours around. It's quite fine to mist a bit of this over the canvas before adding some paint to do your blending. That is, again, is designed to keep the paint wetter longer for you to be able to move it around. Okay, so that's just a quick introduction. Obviously, as we progress through the workshop, I'll be introducing some more materials, but now it's time just to have a little play with some paint. This is part one of my 4-part acrylic painting workshop titled Pandora's Box. I've designed this workshop to take you through step-by-step process of reproducing one of the elements I've been using in my current paintings. That element is the timber chest or the timber box that can be seen in my works titled The Toll and the work titled Vanitas Plastica. To start off, I just want to show you I've just done a rough outline of my timber chest, and then I've just used some masking tape and masked up the inner edge of that. Next step is going to be introducing some colours into the background to do a nice subtle blend of colour. So first of all, what I want to do is I just want to grab my water bottle. And also I'm going to do is do a quick mist of water over the background. Then I'm just going to grab a car sponge, which you can get from Bunnings, and I'm just going to wipe over the water just to prevent any drips running through the canvas. So once I've just added a little bit of water to the canvas, then what I'm going to do is just grab my Floetrol, which I mentioned in my introduction, and just with a brush I'm just going to apply it to the sponge. Then I'm just going to rub the sponge over the background and just get a nice amount of lubrication on the background. Now if you don't have a sponge, you can apply that Floetrol with a brush. So the idea of the Floetrol is then to allow you about 15 or 20 minutes to throw some paint on and to move the paint around without it drying too much. So the first thing I'm going to do is just add our initial background colour. This colour is called Autumn Flare. So because I'm going to be using an earthy sort of autumn palette throughout the painting, what I'm going to do is just start off by applying the initial base colour through the centre of the work. The reason why I'm applying it to the centre of the work is what I'm going to do is basically add some white to this colour and then some black to this colour. So the white will be my light. I'm going to have it coming from over here across the canvas, and then I'm going to have some darker shadows coming through. So this is going to give me my initial tonal variation for my background. And I'm going to be working from light to dark, so the next step is just to add our lighter colour, which is this base colour with some white added to it. I'm going to move quite quickly as I'm doing this, and I'm using quite large brushes just so I can move a lot of paint around quite quickly. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this light now into this initial background colour that I've added first. And straight away you can start to see a few little tonal variations happening. I'm just going to add a little more of this background colour down here where I just want it to be a little bit darker. And then again I'm just going to paint some light back into that initial background colour. Next step is I'm just going to add the darker tone over into this side. So all I've done is again added some black to the initial base colour that we've used. Again, we're going to bring it into that initial base colour. But again, moving quite quickly. We get as much paint on there as quickly as possible. Again, painting into that background colour, bringing that background colour back across into the dark. So straight away you can see we already are starting to get our tonal variation from light to dark. As this is our light source over here falling onto the subject, the next step is actually going to be introducing some Atelier colour. So it's got a little more strength of colour to it. So the first colour I'm going to add is an orange. Just with a smaller brush, I'm just going to add it in sections, just where I want a little splash of colour to be coming through. Again, this orange is quite nice to have up against this dark colour here. Give you some nice contrast. So just add it randomly. So next I'm going to add a little bit of a yellow oxide. Again, just adding into the light. Just in random places. Next I'm just going to add a little bit of raw sienna. So this will just give us a little bit more of an earthier tone through the canvas. So again, quite nice in the dark. So straight away you can start to see we're getting quite a lot of colour through. We've got quite a lot of variation of colour and tone through the canvas. Now just to tie all this together, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be generous with some white paint. Got a nice wide flat brush, and starting up where the light source is coming from, I'm just going to introduce some white. Again, what I'm doing is just trying to keep most of this light up into where the light source is coming from. Just draw a little crosshatch. Just drag the paint around a little bit, let the brush do the work. So what you can see is we've got quite a lot of colour, we've got a lot of tones of darks and lights happening at the moment. And it's also very, I guess it's got a lot of action through it. So the idea now we've got our paint on, is to use some nice wide brushes. And what we're going to do is just going to do some soft blending. So just try initially a crosshatch, not pushing too hard onto the canvas. This is just our initial blending stage. Again, with a large blending brush, we're just going to soften back again. You see, as we start to blend with this second brush, we're starting to see some of that action disappear out of the work, and what we're having happen is a nice subtle blend of colour. One of the goals is just trying to eliminate some of those brush strokes out of the work. At the moment I'm sort of just staying in the light. Then with another clean big brush I'm going to start bringing some of this dark colour back into the light section of the painting. And again, where we've added our orange here against our darkest tone, getting some quite nice light and dark happening. Some lovely depth in the work. At a later stage in the painting, we'll be coming back into the background, introducing some more light into it. I'm just going to introduce a little bit of dark down here, just to have a little bit of contrast with the light and dark against the edge of my box there. Just applying it and then using the same dark brush just to blend that dark colour back up into the light. Again, if you would like a little more action through the back, if you want the background to be a little more dramatic with brush stroke, then you can leave it at an earlier stage where you don't blend quite as much. So then with my light blending brush, I'm just going to drag the light back in towards the subject of the box, just following the source of light. This helps with a little bit of light direction in the work. So drag the paint, wherever it's still moving around, you're able to drag it Then maybe just another little light crosshatch over the top just to blend those brush strokes back in. Again, this process can be done over a couple of different layers. So if you feel that once it dries back you haven't got that contrast of light and dark that you need, then repeat the process. So now what I've done is I've created our light and our dark. I'm just going to remove this masking tape and then you'll see the outline of the box revealed. Okay, very simple process. Now we have a nice high contrast between our subject, which is the box in the foreground, and our background. We've also got some nice dark stuff happening over here in the corner. Next step will be actually starting to introduce the box. But that's the first stage, which is a background basically. So I'll probably spend around about 25 to 30 minutes on this normally, so I've worked a little bit quicker for the workshop purpose, but take your time with it. While ever that paint's wet and you're able to move around, have some fun with it.